it looks similar to the pre-approval letter, but in bold red font, 14-point font, it says commitment letter. That means that we're committing to lending you money. And it also explains that you've already gone through the process. Well, think about this. Just envision you're out looking for houses and you've looked at 15 or 20 homes and you and your wife find the perfect house. It's a fully renovated, everything's done. There's 6 or 7 cars lined up front, looking at it. They're all trying to get in. And you feel like, hey, this is it. This is the home. We want to make an offer on this house. If you've gone through the certified buyer program, it's going to just give you a lot more leverage when you're negotiating, because if there's multiple offers on this property and the listing agent has, let's say, 3 or 4 or 5 offers in front of them, they're going to look at the pre-approval letter and they're going to see ours, which is going to say a commitment letter. And then I'm going to make a phone call and explain this program to them verbally. And it's going to give that listing agent a peace of mind that financing is not a question with you guys, because you're done. You're completely done with the process. And the cardinal sin for a listing agent is to have multiple offers and then pick the offer that doesn't close because of financing. That's a sure way to get a listing agent fired. So this is going to just give you a whole bunch. It's going to give you a whole bunch of leverage. Also, we can close a lot quicker. We can close as soon as 2 weeks. So a seller may have a motivation to sell this house quickly. They may not, but at least we'll have that ability to close fast. Okay. So our job is to knock out competition and for you to be successful in negotiating and going under contract on the house that you fall in love with. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Okay, great. Now, people say, well, why wouldn't I do that? Well, good question. The first 2 stages, the pre-qualification, the pre-approval, we'll do those at no cost up front. The certified buyer, the investment for you is $495. It's a deposit that goes towards your earnest money that you're going to eventually put down. So you get that money back. And by the way, you have 12 months to use this letter. So if you didn't find anything, or if you put it on hold for some reason, you have 12 months to use it. So, but we feel like the investment's worth it, because if you find the house that you fall in love with and you really want it, it's the best money that you would ever invest.
Okay.
So
when some of you guys are listening to Michael, I just want a little bit of feedback in terms of what's going through your head. We're looking at a frozen screen down below, Michael. I don't know why.
Oh, here. No, stop sharing.
There you go. When Michael is talking, I'll start with you, Andy. What did you hear from a sales perspective that you're not doing, or something that you picked up on a nuance?
I think he was just going into really good detail as to like really hammering home the importance of each step and how much weight it holds, and actually describing what was going to happen, where I feel like I sometimes can glaze over that and still mention, hey, loan commitment versus pre-approval versus pre-qualification. But the way he was spelling it out was like very vivid and like, oh, that's why you do what you do. That makes sense. Kind of hammering that home in just a really smooth Michael Anthony way.
Well, and it's funny because any of you that don't really know Michael, he's a planner and he's thorough. If any of you caught yourself going, God, this is a lot of information and this is long. Anybody care to admit?
It's funny, as Andy was mentioning that, what I was thinking to myself was, I like the way, not just the information he delivered, but how much he delivered, because I find myself sometimes giving too much and overwhelming the people that we deal with, because let's face it, they don't do what we do. And I have to remind myself, I have the curse of knowledge, and sometimes I don't shut up. And their heads start spinning, and it creates more work for me. And in some cases, it scares them off.
Yeah. So Michael, just to go back to you, in your mind, when you're setting up in the beginning, hey, this market's super competitive, so having every advantage possible. And, we're going to answer your questions here in the Smart Start today, but just knowing that if you're going to go out and you've been looking at things and kind of kicking tires a little bit, and this meeting gives you the confidence to really go, and go try to find something, this market is crazy competitive, and there could be 4 or 5 other people making a bid on that same home. With that said, let's get started, blah, blah, blah. So where does your brain, Michael, for anybody who's just not as good as you at delivering this, essentially this, hey, I'm going to walk you down this yellow brick road, but there's little landmines everywhere. Tell us what to think. Give us some bullet points in our head when we're explaining it to people. Anything that you're thinking about specifically in terms of timing, body language, just any details that we can kind of write down right now that would help us in that moment.
Yeah. And you're talking about what I'm explaining, like the different. Yeah.
Yeah. Just it's the way that you do things that is thorough, but not too long, not too short. It creates a little bit of fear, but then it creates comfort that you're explaining something as a brain surgeon.
Right.
And then can you get them to go, wow, why wouldn't I do this? Michael, thank you. What do we do next? Here's my credit card,
Well, and I've had people say that, like, hey, what, can I write a check now? Or can I give you my credit card? And in that way, I know I did my job right. And I would say this, you have to read your audience. I mean, every customer is different, right? So I might spend a little bit more time on this with somebody that is first-time home buyer, real green. I can tell, like, I'm looking at their emotions, like their body language. So my presentation was very one-dimensional. I was just talking a lot. So like if I see first-time home buyers, maybe if they're looking at themselves or looking at each other, and I see that maybe they're confused, I'll stop and say, hey, listen, just real quick, I don't want to give you so much information where I'm, I want to make sure you understand this. Does that part there make sense? Or I'll ask them a question and say, hey, which of these steps makes most sense for you in your situation? Or I'll ask them a question because I want to make sure they understand it.
Yeah.
And so looking at their body language, if they're in front of the office, it's a lot easier because they're right there. If it's on Zoom, I got to make sure the camera's on. So fast, go back 45 minutes. If they're on Zoom and their camera's not on, I'll make a comment because I want to see them. If I can't see them, I'm at such a disadvantage. So I'll say to them and say, hey, I don't know if you can see me, but I only see this black screen with your name. Is your camera working? I want that. Don't overlook that. You want to see them. It's so critical to see their facial expressions, right?
Right.
And then,
so what else?
Stories, tell a story about a customer that we closed last week, that when they went through the process, if they have an objection or say, I'll think about it. Say, listen, think about it. Just tell you a really great story of a closing we had last week. And I'll go through the story of how they lost their dream home because they weren't prepared. They just got pre-qualified. They didn't take the time, and they weren't all in. They didn't give me the documents. They didn't give me, they gave me a pay stub and said, here you go. They lost their dream home, and the wife was crushed. She was like she was so upset. And she came back to me. She said, Michael, what was that program that you talked about? I was halfway listening. What was that program that you said that would give us leverage, and we'd have much more success in negotiating? Well, we explained it. We got the initial investment, put it on a credit card. We did their underwriting in 5 days. Okay. The next visit, the next time out, when they negotiated on a contract with 4 offers, we won that. They went to closing and were ecstatic. Almost as good as that house that they didn't get. It was just a couple little features that they didn't have in that second property, but they were happy that they went down this path. I just,
Mhm.
I just think it's so powerful. I don't want to see you make that same mistake. So it'll save you time and energy in the long run, but go ahead and think about it. And when you're ready, you let me know. So I'll take it away a little bit. I'll sort of take it away. If you have
Hmm.
somebody that's a little bit like, well, okay, I'll think about it. Sometimes you get that.
Yeah. The Michael and Gloricel and I were talking yesterday. I'm going to call on Gloricel real quick if she's on. We had before when we were at our previous bank, they were like, "Hey, you can't do this. You can't charge a fee. You can't charge a deposit." And we figured out that, just so all of you know, the legal piece, because Rocket charges a $500 application fee
Right.
to give out an approval letter from the desk jockey,
Yeah.
which is essentially a DU or an LP approval. If they do that, who knows their policy?
Right.
And I said, how does Rocket charge 500 non-refundable? And we figured out with Chris and I forget who, but maybe Sam will remember if he might have dropped off. But we figured out, hey, it's really just you have to disclose.
Yeah.
And they have to sign an intent to proceed. And I think the magic, Michael, in what we figured out, and before I call on Gloricel, is that when you're doing disclosures and you really now have them signing disclosures, they're going through the loan application. So if there is any second guessing about this $495 fee, it's going to come back, which, by the way, you want. That's what you want. We want a pre-qualification moving to a pre-approval to be a sale. We do
Right.
not want it to be a promise of all of our work and expertise for free. Hey, Sam, I'm a lawyer. This is great. I know now we've had our initial free consultation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you ready for trial. And I know you're guilty, but I think I can get you off. And so I'm going to do all this work with all of my paralegals. I'm going to invest all this fucking time. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to get you right up to the judge with all this info so that the minute we know the judge says you're innocent, you can hire another lawyer and fire me and never pay me.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a heart surgeon. Sam, I'll do I could do this in every industry and make up the same story where we get left at the altar after the decision was made.
Mm-hmm.
This is our payback. That's what's coming. And here's the thing. You do it with a smile because we're experts. I'm
Well-
Michael Anthony. So Gloricel, hold on one second.
Yeah.
We
yeah.
have second base. We have second base. Third base is pay. Second base is what everybody else does. Gloricel, tell me about your second base approach that we're revisiting.
Yeah, so we were talking about this yesterday because I think this has been my biggest hurdle. And I will say everyone that I have that has paid and moved forward has closed 100%. I've not ever had somebody that got fully underwritten and paid the $495 fee that said, you know what, I found another lender that's going to offer me, a lower rate and I'm going to go with them. It's not happened yet.
Right.
But on the commitment piece, I was talking I think originally, and Brendan had sent it to me a while back, but it was essentially a commitment letter that said, I commit to, moving forward, and they sign it. And I was telling Brendan that
it says, I commit to working with Gloricel as my loan officer.
That's it. And
Sam,
I was like,
this was the
what?
document when we were in the bank that we were just like, hey, let's get them to put blood on a piece of paper versus money.
Exactly.
Right.
And I told Brendan, I said, you know what? After my Smart Start, I want to put that in the loan portal for them to e-sign. Hey, we're at the pre-qualification level, or maybe they're pre-approved if we run DU and we have enough docs. And let's just say, I want to move you to the next step, get you fully underwritten. So when you're ready, the documents in the portal, once you e-sign, we'll get that ball rolling. And then that kind of, because my issue is sometimes they're like, yeah, we want to do it. And then there's this lull in between the time that you're, and you're calling them like, hey, do you want to move forward? Yeah, we're on vacation next week, or just life happens, right? And so I think just having an e-sign, and does it really matter? No. Are they bound to it? No, really. But, it makes them think they are.
Hey,
And it's
here-
just a level of commitment. So I think I'm going to start just putting it in Simple Nexus and for e-signature, like, hey, I want to move forward with getting fully underwritten. And
Yeah.
that way,
I love how you were
we
able to
can-
load it in. You know what I was thinking, Gloricel, just hearing this? What if, you know how when you're at a hotel or there's something where here's the standard package, here's the slightly upgraded package with X, Y, and Z, and here's the supreme package where it kind of duplicates the services, but then you see the top, there's a break, there's the middle, there's a break, and then there's the gold level.
Mhm.
What if the top really is pre-qual? We don't care about that. So it's only 2 sections. And this is, hey, if you're remaining with pre-approval, here's all the benefits. And then down at the bottom, at any time, if you want to upgrade to underwritten, here's the remaining benefits. And then we still have them sign at the bottom so that they could see all the work that goes into, just the
Yeah.
pre-approval. And then maybe somewhere in between, the extra bullet points. Do you really, and this is for all of you, do you really want to take the call Friday afternoon, Saturday afternoon from the buyer's agent on the pre-qual or the second baser where they need to go, they're writing an offer, like it, you know what I'm saying? Like, where do
Yeah.
we draw the line with, is there, I'm getting into the minutia of this, but this is the real deal when we do this stuff and we
Well-
take the weekend calls.
Well, that's part of our advocacy, right? If they commit to working with you, then you commit to, hey, if you call me on a Saturday night because there's highest and best at 8 p.m., I'm going to answer your call and I'm going to call that listing agent for you. If you're only pre-qualified and I'm hanging out with my kids, I might not make that call, you know?
That's a
Hey,
good point.
Brendan.
I've said that
Yeah.
Hey,
too.
quick question. Have you ever actually looked at the terminology on a pre-approval letter? And I know the answer is yes, but it just straight up says at the beginning, it says this is not a commitment to lend.
Yeah.
So I tell my folks, I say, put yourself in the listing agent's shoes. I go, it's like 5 o'clock on a Friday, offers are due in. You have 2 verbatim offers on there. One is a pre-approval letter, which again, the first one, it says this is not a commitment to lend. Their offer, let's say, is $500,000. And then you get our letter, which is guaranteed financing for $500,000. And then the listing agent also gets a phone call from me explaining the letter, how they've been through underwriting all of this. Like, whose offer are you going to take if it's apples to apples? You're taking guaranteed financing all day. So it's like, it also explains to him like the gravity of it is what I do to help. And it's kind of a no-brainer. And especially with in this market, limited inventory, train doesn't stop twice when that good house
Scroll
comes
down.
along.
Is that Gloricel sharing?
I'm sharing, and these are like accessibility,
Yeah.
advocacy.
Mike, yours is
Yeah.
updated. I need a copy of this updated. Smart Start.
Yeah.
Hey,
So
Benton, Michael, get
Yeah.
it to Benton, and then we can make sure if this is going to be a document that we try to sign.
yeah,
or-
and this is the second. This is the page right after that. The baseball field.
Yeah.
And using Gloricel's line, I've told customers that too. Say, listen,
Yeah.
I tell them in no uncertain terms, if you want to buy a home, you have to be all in, right? You can't be half in, half out. It's not going to work, right? And when you make the investment to go through our certified buyer program, I'm making the same commitment. I'm all in as well. Real estate happens on weekends, period. You're going to look at a home on a Saturday. It happens all the time, or Sunday. And I'm going to get a call from your realtor or you that says, hey, can you run numbers for me? Or I need to make an offer. Can you call this listing agent? If you are through our certified buyer program, my commitment to you is either me or another team member will be available to you to help you win that offer.
Yeah.
You're all in,
Mhm.
we're all in.
Mhm.
Time out off the record. I don't want people that are not committed. It's bullshit, right? It's not going to
Yeah.
work.
Well, and here's the funny part. If we're all, so my buddies that are 52, 51, and one's turning 51 shortly, and I'm 52. I got this text the other day, Mike, and it was like, hey, how many pull-ups can you do? And our most verbal friend has been on this monster like weight loss. He was fat and now he's skinny. He's lost like 50 pounds. So he's a skinny expert after 10 years of being overweight. So he can get 5 pull-ups. So I went and did overhand and I did 10. This other guy did like 14 and the other guy did like 7, but we had to film it. So it's like, you can't lie on film. So here's what the reason why I use that example is anybody who is practicing this, if you cannot collect a fee, you are not impactful enough.
Correct.
You are lying to yourself, and you're my buddy Dave that can only do 4 pull-ups. So if you're not processing fees in the Smart Start and getting people to commit with their credit card, you are not doing it right. You're lying to yourself. If you work for me and you want Mike and Tommy to process the loan without the commitment, I'm pissed, because then I'm investing resources on loans that you're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. Everyone else, you can continue to lie to yourself, but my guys, if you're getting better at this, the proof's in the pudding. You're collecting the fee, and all the people in our pipeline that said to be determined pre-approval, they paid it.
Yeah.
Gloracels just said it. Everyone who's paid has closed.
And one more thing too on that,
Yeah.
Brendan. So think about I don't know if you guys realize this. Once they've paid, you've disclosed, well, you disclose, they sign, they pay, right?
Right.
They're TBD, they're in the pipeline. There's another benefit that's huge. Once they go under contract, okay, let's say it's a week
Yeah.
later, they go under contract. You don't need to redisclose. You don't need to wait. You order the appraisal right away.
Yes.
You already disclosed. You only need to
Yes.
redisclose again once you lock the rate, whenever that
Yeah.
is.
And how
So-
many, and here's the funny thing, how many of us have spent the time, had a good Smart Start, the people don't commit, we get the phone call Saturday, we do the thing, and then they go under contract Sunday. It's a busy Monday, your processors are working on deals that are blowing up, it's Monday night, you still don't have disclosures out. You're like, oh shit, the Johnsons. And then it's Tuesday morning, the Johnsons are like, yeah, we're in a conference all day in Tampa. And then like you get these disclosures out Wednesday, the realtor's calling you Tuesday afternoon. Hey, did you order the appraisal? And then you're looking at your calendar because you committed to a 26-day closing. And you're already 3 days in. And you don't even have disclosures signed. Raise hand if you're guilty of that.
We've all done it.
Yeah, everyone raised their hand because that's what happens. And then you're like, wait a minute, didn't I meet these people in June? Like,
yeah,
why didn't I close them? Well, you're going to close them, but there's still all that white water in between, and hurry.
It's about self-worth. If you don't think you're worth $495, you shouldn't be doing this job. You're right. You're looking at these borrowers that have $40,000 in the bank and they can't cut a check for $495. What you're telling yourself is that you're worthless. I mean, you're really not worth that, which
Yeah.
again, that goes to your mindset of what what is your time worth? I mean,
Right.
you're like, Gloracel, you said it a month or two ago. It's like, wait a minute, I've got 2 kids. It's the weekend. Wait a minute. I'm going to take my precious time and divert it to help this person get a contract when I could be with my 2 kids and my husband. Like that's asking a lot. So
Yeah.
for you to ask for $495, it's nothing, guys. And
Yeah,
it
it's-
Well, you have
does
to pay it
show
anyway.
commitment. Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're paying $495 now or $495 at closing. Either way, they're paying it. So
Right. Well, let's work on that. If you remain pre-approved on second base versus third base, and maybe that, hey, your next steps or some type of piece of paper like Gloracel's using where she whips it out if they want to stay there, and then they can see the difference on a separate piece of paper and that it's loaded in. I love the signature piece. And I think we're dissecting the fine points of closing. We're really talking about the nuances of closure with someone. We can talk about it from our perspective on what we get. And then if we get really good at what they get, like what do they get and why would they do it? and what's in it for them, then I think it is very important, because if it sounds like something that's a benefit to us as the consultant salesperson, depending on how they view us, ultimately, if you view someone as a true consultant, 99% of what they say, you're going to be like, okay, great. Like, you're my consultant. I hired you to tell me if this bridge was going to fall apart because I own the bridge, and you told me what to do because you're a bridge consultant. I'm doing the next steps and I'm paying fees. If they think you're a salesperson selling them on this, you're going to get, hey, I'm going to hold on second base. Thank you so much, Natalie. It was really great information. Thanks, Justin. Thanks, Dustin. That's cool, man. I'm good here.
Or
And my wife and I need to think about next,
Correct.
We're good.
Or they just don't understand it because we didn't explain the value.
Right.
And I think that's part of it. And I will say this, my first few times doing this back a few months ago when we rolled it out, it wasn't that smooth, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it takes a few times. Yeah, I'm going to say more than a few. Do it, pitch it 10 or 20 times, and then you're going to start to get really good at it, right? And then it's fun. It's really, I think it's sort of a rush to get the 495 and move on. I love it. I mean, it's like you're winning the battle, right? You've won that battle, but it is to benefit them ultimately.
Yeah.
We know that. I mean,
right.
but it's still fun.
Right. And Michael, this takes you back to your mudslinging. Hey, he was a sweatshop mortgage guy. Get the appraisal check. Don't you love how I put that in the bio?
That's
I
right.
met Michael.
Exactly.
I met Michael at a road stop. He and Jimmy had cash in their pockets. They were peddling shit loans, and then it all fell apart.
That's right.
Guys, it's 9/12. Every other week we're going to do this. At some point in the future, if you look at that little people box, it says 16. At some point in the future, it's going to say 78. Because we're going to have other people from around the country that are going to be doing this. Because there's a bunch of weenies in our business. Natalie, your competition sucks. Crush their skulls with this. Dustin, everyone who's shopping your loans with other lenders, those other lenders suck. Justin, your lenders that you're up against suck. And all of our lenders suck. By the way, true story. I'm going to close with this. It made me smile. So I took a picture of this lender. This is his testimonial. He's one of the biggest dogs in this town, Heath Albritton. We did a Smart Start with a realtor lead with this lady who, she was difficult. She had done her loan with him and her refinance with him and hadn't heard from him in 6 years. He's moved like 3 companies. He got a huge sign-on bonus with Movement Mortgage. And we ended up closing this deal, but she went back to him at the last minute. And then she calls me and says, hey, he did so little and your initial meeting was so helpful. You guys really care. And, that's why I went with you. Thank you. Went to the closing, gave her some alcohol. So Heath Albritton, I'm on his feed. Here's what's on his stories. It's a testimonial, a 5-star testimonial. I worked with Heath on the purchase of my house in 2011.
Wow.
The service I received was amazing. Heath and his staff handled every aspect of the mortgage quickly and professionally. We ran into some issues that were unrelated to them. Bullshit. His shitty over the phone pre-qual, interest rate quote, handed off to processor. She fucked up the income. He called last minute saying, oh, the underwriter. Yeah, he fucked it up. Unrelated to them, and they went above and beyond at the last minute to resolve the issues. What the fuck is this?
Yeah.
By the way, he did like 180 million, Michael, and he has all these realtors, but he quotes rates within the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
He does not do a smart start. I want to eat his lunch every day. If he was here, I'd beat the crap out of him in the back parking lot and drag him onto this call.
I got
That's
two
funny.
questions
Sam
What?
has
before
one.
we end the meeting.
Yes.
I wanted to know, is the certified buyer program available when we just pull a soft pull or no?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
actually,
is.
no, it
available.
is.
Yes,
It is?
Yeah.
It
Can
is
we
on
run
conventional.
automated?
It is on
Yes, you can.
conventional, not
You
guppies.
can run
Okay.
You can
Yeah.
run.
Okay.
On
And by the
conventional.
way-
So we don't,
You can run LP, and we could talk about. We could even do it on the next call, Brendan, on the whole
Yeah.
opt-out thing. I've incorporated that in the initial call. We could talk about that
Okay.
next week.
hey, here's the
Okay.
goal. Here's the goal finishing. And I just, this kind of stuff just jacks me up because I love the movie Seabiscuit and I'm Seabiscuit. I've got Seabiscuit. Seabiscuit is over there on the wall. He's up there. You see him above the running with the bulls. Seabiscuit. Why Seabiscuit? Because he ate the big dog's lunch. He loved the competition. I love to stay behind and then go ahead. This is about improving our craft and our conversion rate. And all of these little details absolutely matter. And when you guys start to get that, and this every 2 weeks, it's going to be intense like this, and we're going to record it. I want Benton to be part of this because he's going to cut and paste, Michael, that 5 minutes where you were doing that. And let's get that out to everybody to where it'll be in a library where you can really look at it and listen.
Mhm.
I get amplified and all these people are on the call. That's great, but you still need to study this stuff.
Right.
This is the time where we share, but I want the next 2 weeks of you bringing it to where anybody on this call in 2 weeks goes, dude, I collected 3 fees and here was the craziest one. Natalie, I want that story because that's where the growth happens.
I have one other question. I had my
Hurry.
hand raised earlier. This is it. Has anyone experienced pushback once the disclosures go out with the LE for the certified buyer? Where you
Of course.
see fees and all that. Okay.
Yeah. And answer the
No, you-
questions.
All I tell people is this, and we can go over this next week or 2 weeks,
Okay.
but Benton, make a note of what Natalie's question is.
Yeah,
Natalie had a
I-
question in the chat, and then
Mhm.
make a note of, this will be a cliffhanger, make a note of that specific question that April just asked when there's pushback, because it's very simple to overcome that. And we can talk about
Mhm.
that in 2 weeks.
Gotcha.
So how to overcome?
The
Push for
pushback
that
when disclosures
495.
go out.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
No,
once the
they-
disclosures go out.
Okay.
Benton, it's they paid and now they have more questions.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, because we're getting the payment first, then we're sending out the disclosures, right?
No.
Okay.
No. You're
No, no,
sending
no.
out
Okay.
disclosures.
As the other
then
way,
they're
and
sending-
then you get the payment.
They have
Gotcha.
to sign the intent to proceed in order to collect the fee.
To collect the 495. Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought that's the way it was.
Cool.
So, okay. All
Good
right,
stuff,
good deal.
everybody. Practice your
Love the-
craft. See you later.
God, I love
Bye.
this. Bye.
Bye.